Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to our day 2 of live cooking with Antoine. So I hope everyone is doing well with the confinement. Here we're doing okay. It's a nice day in Texas. It's nice and hot. Actually, yesterday I was so hot. I'm not filming at 1 o'clock anymore. We'll be filming at 5 o'clock. So today, change of plan. I had a mutiny on my hands. Everybody wanted baguette and not sourdough. So I said, hey, what not? Well, let's make some baguettes today. So I'm cheating today. I want you guys to be able to see everything without waiting 3 hours to see the bread coming out of the oven. So what I will do first, I have some baguettes here that are already proofed, or at least I hope so. We're going to score them. We're going to put them in the hot oven that is behind me. And then we're going to, while the bread is baking, we're going to be showing you how to mix the dough and how we'll have the starter that's doing well since yesterday that we started together. So we'll be taking care of the starter, and I will have some helpers giving me the time so I don't burn the baguettes. So here we go. So here we have some baguettes that I made this morning, and they have been proofing for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So if I put my finger on it, they barely bounce back. So that's perfect. So I'm going to use a small piece of wood as a peel. I'm going to put a little bit of flour on the peel. And everybody at home, they love baguette, but they love to have their individual bread bowl. So here is the little bread bowl that I made for each individual. And I put a little bit of flour on my peel. And then I'm going to take scissors and I just do a couple of notches on the top. And they all of a sudden look like little spikes. And I'm going to make one on each side and on the other side, and then finally on the opposite side. And I have 5 notches, and those little bread balls are ready to go in. So I just have my oven at about 500 degrees and I just slide them in. Slide them in, and then next I have the actual baguettes. They are very gentle, so I try to just pick them up as little as I can. And then I have a score blade, so you can use a sharp knife, serrated knife, or a little razor blade like this one. I'm going to make 3 cuts almost all the way down. So you hold your blade at about 30 degrees and you just cut down. They always slide, which is good, and you want to make sure your cut overlap. So my cut here, it's hard to see. My cut here overlaps with this one, and my cut here doesn't quite overlap, so I cut a little more. And then I'm going to slide it in. And next baguette. Take my blade, same thing, 3 cuts all the way down, and I make sure they overlap. Once the baguette is in there, you want a lot of steam. So you can do that in a regular oven, of course. Use a regular oven, just use 500 degrees, as hot as you can get. And then I put a pan in here, it's just a cookie tray, and I put a couple of broken bricks in there. I make a few holes in the foil that I use to cover it, and I preheat it in the oven. So this has been in the oven for about 20 minutes, and I put just a little bit of water. And so with the hole, the water goes in, and then when it touches the hot brick, then it turns into steam, and the steam comes out slowly through the hole. So I put that back in here, while it's nice and hot. If you use a regular oven, just close the door. If you use a brick oven, you have an insulated door that comes with all of our ovens. I put the insulated door. That's going to help retaining the heat and the steam. Then I close the damper. That prevents any heat and steam from coming out. And then I close the door. And we're going to count about 10 minutes. Isaac, we got 10 minutes? Thank you. All right, so now, so let me make some room. So how do you make the dough? So if you go to our website, redstoneovens.com, you have the option of searching baguette, and we have a baguette recipe. You are not going to need a whole lot. You're going to need a mixing bowl. You need a a scale, and then you need flour, salt, yeast, and water. So it's fairly easy. You can use straight flour. Here this is some all-purpose flour. You can use bread flour. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of whole wheat flour. I actually like to make it with spelt flour, but I didn't want to run for the store for spelt flour, so I just use what I have, and that's the idea of those recipes. So I have a digital scale, very easy to use again. I'm going to take my mixing bowl, and I use grams because it's easier to calculate, but if you go on the website again, brightstoneovens.com, you are going to see we have all the measurements in ounces, in cups, and in grams. So put my scale to 0. I'm going to start with the yeast. I'm going to put 1% of yeast. So for 1,000 grams of flour, that's going to be 10 grams of yeast. So it's why we use grams, because it's very easy to do the mathematics. So I have 10 grams. I reset my scale to 0, and then I pour the water. Water, same thing. If you look on our recipe, it's 65%. So for 1,000 grams of flour is going to be 650 grams of water. Almost there. Take your time when you get closer. Okay. All right, at 65. Sorry, 650. Then I just take a whisk, and I want to rehydrate the yeast. When you use the yeast, those are active dry yeast. You can get them at any grocery store. They come in little packets, or they can come in a jar like that. Best way is to keep them in the fridge. You can even keep them frozen if you don't use them that often. Once they are nicely diluted, I put the mixing bowl back on the scale. I hit 0 to get it back to 0, and I'm going to put about 10% of flour that's going to be whole wheat flour. So in that case, it's 100 grams. And make sure it's nicely at 0. So the wind is blowing, and actually it's enough to make the scale tip from 0 to 10 grams. So we'll just make it work. And so almost. Okay, so I have my 100 grams of flour. And then I'm going to put the rest of it. So this time I don't reset the scale. I don't put it back to 0 because I want to know when I get to 1,000 grams. So I have my 100 grams of whole wheat, and then I just put my flour in here. And almost. And here we are. 1,000 grams. And you can mix it by hand, that's easy, or you just put it in your mixer. The best is to use a dough hook. Don't use a whisk for the mixer, or don't use the paddle. The dough hook is what you want. I lift it up, and that's good. So now we're going to let it mix for about 3 minutes, or until all the ingredients are all nicely mixed together. So while it's doing that, Zach, how many minutes do we have left?
5.
5 minutes? Okay. So 5 minutes, so when we're at 2 minutes left, this should be about right. So while this is mixing, I'm going to show you where the starter is at. Okay, so this is the starter we started to make yesterday. It was nice and thick. If I look at it now, it's not as thick, it's a little bit more liquid. And so I'm going to do the same thing as what I did yesterday. I'm going to take a thin container, and my table is moving with the mixer. That's pretty funny. So I put it back to 0. And I'm going to put, so yesterday we said 2 ounces, so 2 ounces is about 60 grams. So we are there. Okay, so my dough is all worked up together, so I just stop it. And 60 grams of my starter, then I put 60 grams of my water. take the spoon and I nicely mix it. So always mix your starter with your water first because you want to dilute it. So when it's nice and fresh like that, it takes more mixing. But once the starter is nice and active, it takes a lot less mixing because it's already really liquid. Alright, so now I've broken down all the starter. As you can see, it's a lot more liquid. Alright, so put my scale back to zero. And now I put my 60 grams or about 2 ounces of the same flour. So this is a whole wheat flour that we started using yesterday. So we want to keep using the same flour. And so as you see now, pretty much what I did, that it tripled in size. So that's why you only keep but so much of your starter. So no need to have a big jar. I was used to want to keep everything. I was like, that's so fantastic. I'm making starter and this is great, and next thing I knew I had like 3 giant containers of starter, and that wasn't ideal. So now I know I just need to keep a little bit, and that goes a long way. So that's my starter, and that's it. So I just wanted to show you quickly. This is the starter that I refreshed yesterday with you. And so I got a lot of questions about that. So if you remember, it was pretty thick. Now it's liquid. It's almost like heavy cream. So it's because the yeast in there digested all the gluten. And with that, well, now it doesn't have any more structure. So it's almost liquid. So at this point, it's more than needed to refresh it. If not, it will start smelling like vinegar. On that subject, I got a lot of questions. So thank you for everyone who is watching us. I'm having a lot of fun, and I really appreciate all the feedback. I had some questions. Some people asked me, hey, where do you keep it? So yeah, just keep it on the countertop. Doesn't need to go in the fridge, doesn't need to go anywhere else. Just on the countertop is where it's going to be the most active. Other question that I got is, can I refrigerate it if I don't use it? So the answer is yes. If you have a starter that is nice and established, you can put it in the fridge. It will go dormant. When you take it back out, I recommend that you take it back out and feed it or refresh it for about 3 days before you use it, just so it's very nice and active. If it's a fresh starter that you just started making, just keep it on the countertop. You're going to do that until it becomes very active. Once it's very active, it's what we call established. So it's very easy to use. You refresh it, put some water, some flour, and then within an hour, it's already growing. Then that's perfect. At that point, you can start refrigerating it. But don't do it until your starter is very well established. All right, Zach, how many minutes left?
1 minute.
1 minute, okay, that's perfect. So that gives me time to show you the dough. See how it nicely mixed. So we get one nice bowl. Nice and dense, and that's perfect. So at this point, we are going to let it rest for about 10 minutes, and that's called the autolyze. Once you have let it rest, while during that time it's resting, all the gluten are going to develop strength. Some people say it's holding hands, so it's going to become easier to work with without making a hole in the dough. So those 10 minutes are critical. After those 10 minutes, you are going to add the salt, and then you mix it again, this time for 3 minutes. Real 3 minutes that you count, not like by eye where I was judging. I just wanted to make sure all the flour was incorporated with the water. But really to make sure everything is mixed together and it's almost like kneading. Low speed is good, no need to go full speed. If not, you can overheat the dough, then it will start because it gets over-knead the dough. And also you can heat up the dough. When the dough gets hotter, the yeast start acting faster, so then your dough is rising faster. All right, it's time. Okay, so we need to check the baguettes. So I hope everybody can see. Can you see well, Zach? All right, so we're going to open the oven. And usually there is a lot of steam that comes out. So if you have a damper on your oven, make sure you open it. All right. So it looks like baguettes have baked nicely. So So I'm going to take my peel, reach in there, and they have a nice color. So best way to check, flip it upside down, knock in the back. If it sounds hollow, that's perfect. So this one sounds hollow, it's ready to come out. So I'm going to put it to rest over here. You don't want to eat it hot out of the oven. It's too hot, you will burn yourself, but give it 5 minutes and it will be a delicious baguette. Same thing for the individual bread roll. They like to roll everywhere. So I don't know if you can see, they're really rolls. They made a nice little opening. So that's perfect. Same thing you can see here. Those bowls turn out really nice. They're really opened up. You can see the crumb. Okay, so I'm going to close back my oven to keep it hot. So while the dough is actually resting, I'm going to show you how to shape those nice baguettes. So you're going to need a nice support and then something called a baker's couche. So baker's couche is flaxseed linen that is weaved together, and it's great because it allows to Bass, how are you? The cat is curious, he wanted to see what's going on. So allows the dough to expand, it's very flexible, and to lose some of the moisture without drying out. So that's perfect. So here I have some dough that I made this morning, same thing. So to get the dough out of the container, plastic scraper is ideal, and a little bit of flour. Flour on my countertop as well, and then I gently work the dough out. Then I did my scale back, and a baguette is 250 grams. The small individual bread rolls like that are about 90 to 100 grams. So here I take my plastic scraper and I just gently push down until I cut through. Again, set your scale 2 grams on 0. There we go. And then you weigh it. And I'm right at 280, so that's perfect. You don't need to be exact. 280 will do. I'll try to do one more. Okay, this one at 250 is perfect. And then I show you how to make the small bread bowl as well. So this is 90. About 110, 90. Okay, here we'll have a super tiny one. So if you don't have a baker's couche, don't worry. Any kitchen towel will do perfectly fine. A little trick to hold it for the first one is to put a rolling pin and you cover it with your linen. And then you're going to flour it and put your baguette in there. So to fold your baguette, you're going to have your dough, as I said, about 250 grams. You push it down gently. You don't want to pop the air bubbles out, you just want to gently flatten it. And you're going to pretend that this is a letter. So let's say it's about a nice rectangle. We're going to put it portrait. We're going to fold it in 3, just like it was a letter. That's my third fold. And then I'm going to take the flat part of my hand and I push down in the middle. Okay, so you get that nice mark. There's a lot of flour on this countertop. Oops, so I remove it. And then I take my thumb, and I'm left-handed, so I use my left hand and I use my right thumb. I put it right in the crease that I created, and I'm going to fold over. And you turn, so you again can see that. Take my thumb and I fold over. And I go all the way till I'm done. And that's nicely sealed. Then I'm going to roll the baguette. So you take your hands and you gently cup them. And you don't want to flat squish the baguette, you want to cup the hand and gently you start rolling it. Of course my table is not super stable. So the dough is going to fight me. You see how I stretch it? And it just swings back just like a rubber band. That's perfectly normal. It means the gluten are working really well. So I'm just going to give it a minute, I let it rest, and I switch to the next one. Again, I have a lot of flour, so I just remove it. Tap it down. Fold it in 3. Take the flap of your hand, you karate chop it. You have that nice crease that you created. Put your thumb in there and you fold over your thumb. Again, I'll start rolling it and it's going to start fighting me back. That's perfectly normal. I just set it there to rest. So while it's resting, I'm going to show you the bread bowl. So this is my dough. It's fairly small, but don't worry, it will expand. So my notes are flying in the wind. Perfect. Take the dough. Doesn't matter really how it looks because we're going to fold it. So it can be square, it can be round, it can be rectangular, triangle, no big deal. Put it in your hand flat and you're going to fold it over 3 fingers. So fold it and you fold it about 2/3 of the way. About like that. Then fold it again, turn it, fold, turn it, fold, turn it, fold. Then you have that nice little bowl. That's it, it's all it takes. Here, put a little bit of flour and I start putting them down. So take your dough, flatten it, put in the flat in your hand, take the corner, fold it over, next corner, fold it over, next corner, fold it, next corner, fold it, fold. That's it. If you feel like it's not the right shape, fold a couple more times, but don't fold too much. It's not necessary, it will just rise. Okay, last one, third one, fold. See, this one is a triangle and I added a piece of dough. No big deal, when it proofs it will be perfect. So fold, over, fold over, fold over, fold over. Okay, and I set it down. Those are really small, just jam them together. Fold over, fold over, fold over. And you can get a lot faster at it. But same thing, this will rise just fine. So I put about 4, you can put 3, you can put 5. You don't want them too close because they're going to expand quite a bit. And then I just take the linen. Again, it can be just a kitchen towel. And I just scoot it over. And this is going to be supported my dough. As it proof is going to push on the side. Here I have the rolling pin to hold it. Here I will have a baguette, so they will self-support each other. Okay, hopefully my baguette had time to rest a little bit. You don't want a lot of flour on your countertop, if not it's just going to slide around. So here, a lot is here. Okay, don't go too big, if not it doesn't fit in your oven. And then on the end, I'm just going to push really hard. And I get that little pin right there, that little tip. It looks really tiny, but don't worry, once you bake the baguette, it's still going to look like that. Here, same thing, push really hard, and that little tip will just expand. Next to the fold, a little bit of flour, and you can put your next baguette. Alright, and the way you get to hold it, you just pinch it and slide. Don't forget to put flour over the baguette. That's it. Flour down for the next baguette. I remove any extra flour that I had. I want it to kind of stick to the table. And here I just expand it. And you see now it's nice and relaxed. So I really roll the end. And here we go. I put it down. And then for the last one, you just use the linen to hold it. And so this linen is going to help the dough keeping its shape. It's self-supporting. It's going to help the extra moisture to come out, but it will not let it dry out. So that's perfect. So that's how you shape your baguette. You're going to give them about 2 hours. Let's say an hour and a half, 2 hours. You want to have the baguettes to a point where when you push on the dough, it barely bounces back. If you overproof the baguette, that's okay. They can actually bounce back quite a bit in the oven as long as you have some steam, so don't sweat it too much. Here is my dough that now had plenty of time to rest. So just to show you quickly, the dough was very rough and kind of a dense ball. Now it's all relaxed. You can really just pull it. So that's what the autolyze and the resting time will do. Will just allow the gluten to hydrate, start working together, and you will go from a dough that is really dense to a dough that is very easy to work with. So I haven't put the salt. We're going to put about 2% of salt. 2% of salt is going to be 20 grams for 1,000 grams of flour. So fine sea salt is better. It's going to give you a much better result, more flavor, and it's easier to mix inside the dough than any coarse salt. Back in the mixer. And we turn it on. So that's pretty much everything that you are going to need. So again, the flour, try to use unbleached flour. White flour is great. If you have some whole wheat flour, put about 10%, no more, if not it's really dense. If you use water, filtered water is best. No need to go with cold water. You can if you want, but just regular filtered water, even if it's at room temperature, is perfectly fine. For the yeast, instant dry yeast is perfect if you find bread machine yeast. They work just fine as well. Any yeast will do well. And the salt, fine sea salt is preferred. And then once you have mixed it for about 3 minutes, you're going to give it another 10 minutes of rest. So your first mix is going to be when you put all your ingredients together, let it rest for 10 minutes. Second mix, we mix for 3 minutes, then we let it rest for 10 minutes. And then the last mix and third mix is going to be your mix, where after that you can put it in a container, any container, so it doesn't dry out. It's going to be perfect. Those plastic containers are great. If you leave it in the mixing bowl, just put a damp towel over it. And I recommend to at least give 4 hours in the fridge. So often I tell people, make your dough at night, let it rest overnight, and then in the morning take it out, let it warm up to room temperature, and then you can start working with the dough. So again, thank you for watching us. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or send me a message at breadstoneovens.com. If you go to the contact page, you have our email, you have a little form you can fill out to send us a message. If not, you can again watch us on Facebook. You can PM me on Facebook. I appreciate all the people who send me messages with questions. So thanks again for watching. Everybody stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, Zach, you can turn it off now.